Welcome to the Palestine hearing of the International People's Tribunal on U.S. imperialism, sanctions, and economic coercive measures. Today, we are going to focus on Palestine and particularly Gaza. I have a few words of opening in Arabic. We will have a moment of silence and then we will proceed. سلامات جميعا. نرحب بكم اليوم بجلسة فلسطين من المحكمة الشعبية للإمبريالية الأمريكية والعقوبات والإجراءات الاقتصادية لحصار ومعاقبة ثلثي سكان العالم، تحديداً العالم الجنوبي. لقد قررنا التركيز اليوم على قطاع غزة العزة الذي يحتوي على 2,254,000 فلسطيني، وهم محاصرين في سجن مفتوح لطوال 16 عاماً. قررنا التركيز على غزة لأن الكيان الصهيوني ودولته الأم الولايات المتحدة وحلفائهم في المنطقة الطغمة العسكرية التي اختطفت جمهورية مصر العربية وعصابة التنسيق الأمني مع العدو والنهب والسرقة في رام الله التي لقبت نفسها بالسلطة الفلسطينية قرروا تجويع القطاع وإملاء عليهم الإخضاع والمذلة. غزة تدافع عن ذاتها وشرف كل الأمة، وأول من اقتلع المستعمرين من أرض فلسطين المحتلة. عندما يهاجم الصهاينة المقدسات في القدس الشريف، غزة ترد وتردع. عندما يقصفونها ويقتلون مناضليها، غزة ترد وتردع. معظم شعبنا في غزة لاجئون ويعملون يومياً ويطالبون بالعودة إلى مدنهم وقراهم في الداخل المحتل. عندما تضحي غزة بلحمها وأشخاصها وترد على حصارها واستنزافها بمحاصرة من يحاصرها من داخل السجن وتصفع جلادها، هي تضيء الظلمة بمقاومتها وقناديل شهدائها. تحضيراً للقاء اليوم، اجتمعنا مع شهودنا البواسل وقت كانت الطائرات الصهيونازية تقصف بناياتهم والأماكن السكنية لترهب أطفالهم وعائلاتهم وتعاقب العزل. تكريماً لصمود ونضال شعبنا في غزة العزة، أطلب منا جميعاً أن نقف وقفة تكريماً وإجلالاً لأرواح شهداء المقاومين والرجال والنساء والأطفال من أهلنا في غزة وكل فلسطين. هذا الكيان الفاشل الاستعماري سيزول لأنه أوهن من بيت العنكبوت، وسنعود لفلسطين محررة من النهر إلى البحر لنقرر مصيرنا كأسياد هذه الأرض. قبل افتتاح الجلسة أطلب منا الوقوف لدقيقة صمت لأرواح الشهداء الطاهرة قبل ما نبدأ هذه الجلسة. We will just be standing in a moment of silence. Thank you. I'm honored to be joined here by Halia Doutaghi, who is the co-chair of the International People's Tribunal. She's an Iranian scholar of law at Carleton College in Canada, and she will be introducing the witnesses for today. After that, Matteo Cupasso, our rapporteur, will moderate the question and answer sessions with the jurors. I also would like to recognize our esteemed jurors that have joined us today, and we are thankful for their efforts. And with that, I will hand it over to Halia.
Thank you so much, Ayad, for your introduction. Hello, everyone. I am truly honored to be co-moderating this session today. It is going to be a particularly heavy session for me personally to moderate. And I can't express my gratitude for this opportunity to be in conversation and to listen to everyone who's about to speak to us today. With that, I'm going to introduce our first speaker today. I have the pleasure of introducing Riyadh Ishketna, a 30-year-old resident of Al-Wahda Street who has experienced an unimaginable atrocity. Riyadh resided in a 4-story building in an apartment on the 3rd floor, along with his wife and children. However, their lives took a devastating turn on May 16, 2021. Late at night, without any warning, their residence became the target of a direct bombing. The force of the attack, carried out by Zionist jets, unleashed high explosive missiles upon them. The destruction and sheer ferocity caused by these bombings were unlike anything Riyadh and his family had ever witnessed before. Trapped beneath the rubble of their shattered home, Riyadh, his wife, and their beautiful children endured 12 hours of uncertainty. They had no way of knowing who among them had survived this heinous crime committed by the Zionist entity. The scenes of suffering, death, and devastation that met their eyes were unimaginable as the explosions ravaged the buildings, claiming the lives of innocent children and the elderly. Riyadh's wife and 4 of his children were killed in this attack. Their lives cut short by the unspeakable violence. Only Riyadh and his 5th daughter, a 7-year-old girl, survived this. She had remained underground alongside her mother, brothers, and sisters, awaiting the chance to be rescued, hoping for a peaceful reunion with her family. Instead, she now finds herself missing almost all her loved ones, with only Riyadh as her sole remaining companion in the face of this planet. Riyadh, thank you so very much for being with us today, despite the ongoing atrocities and aggression in this past week. Please go ahead, the floor is yours.
First of all, I want to thank you for this session, which I hope that it will result in the benefit of our collective good, particularly for that we lost. I'm Riyadh. I live in Gaza and Unity Street, Wahda Street. In 2021, my 4 kids and my wife were killed in the apartment that I lived in, and they were killed in a brutal way. In one moment, I lost my 4 kids and my wife. And I remained under the rubbles for 12 hours under the rubbles with my youngest daughter, not knowing if my kids had died or not, but eventually they were all dead except me and my youngest daughter. We also learned that yesterday that my neighbor also was bombed, and this even deteriorated the psychological condition of myself and my daughter, beyond of what we have lived through in 2021. One of the psychological issues that we're experiencing is that we started to forget things, and now with the restarting of the bombings again, the trauma is back again, and we're scared and trembling all the time. The occupation made us lose the hope in living. and also took away the feel of home at our own houses. One cannot feel secure anymore. This aggression is becoming sporadic and random. It's not, it targets civilians. Every day we lose our rights and makes the future very grim and dark. It's making also civilian houses a front for bombings, and this terrifies the kids. And I'm speaking to you with all honesty, as people who have been harmed by this aggression. I speak to you with the voice of somebody who has lost my whole family. In just one moment, I've lost everything. And we hope from this hearing is that something would come out of this. And I'm speaking to you as the enemy's planes are bombing all civilian places. All the rockets are getting even more aggressive. There is no such thing as civilian or military target. It's all civilian targets are being targeted. Nothing is safe and secure. We as civilians, we trying to stay at home, and sometimes we even try to stay in a room in the house, and we cannot leave that room because of how afraid we are of the bombings. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so very much, Riyadh. We really appreciate that you took the time to be with us today and providing your story. As the chair of this panel, and on behalf of the tribunal and everyone in this room, I'd also like to extend our deepest sympathies to you and your family, your daughter, and may your entire family rest in peace and power. Liberation is closer than ever from the river to the sea. And we're with you, you're not alone. Thank you so much for being with us today. With that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Malek Nidal, a 16-year-old student currently in the 10th grade of high school. Nidal is our youngest witness so far in the tribunal. Malek's father, Nidal, is unemployed with her mother, and they live as a family. Malek's mother takes care of the household as a housewife. She has 2 sisters and 4 brothers, all of whom are known for their kindness and compassion. In her free time, Malek finds joy in playing puzzle games and expressing her creativity through painting. She also has a passion for reading storybooks, and she loves watching documentaries. Malek is an incredibly ambitious young girl, in her own words, and is driven by her dreams and aspiration. Malek, thank you so much for being with us today. Please take it away.
First of all, thank all to give me the chance to be here with you today. I'm Malak, and today I would like to tell you about I'm going to tell you about my suffering inside Gaza Strip, especially during the war period. I live in a rural area close to the border of the Israeli occupation. and it's considered as one of the most dangerous and least secure in time of war. And we are like exposed in discrimination, shelling, and misless. By the Israeli occupier. And today, like I will tell you about the most painful war that's still vivid in my memory and in my imagination. Bad memories I cannot forget. During the war, during the 2014 war, I was still a child, afraid of the sound of plane. The weird war like terrifies me and still terrifies me. And like this sound was the idea of the death in front of my eyes. And I felt that in any moment I will die or I will lose someone of my family member. Because we were first, because of that, we were first to leave our home and go for an honor school, knowing that there's no such a safe place in Gaza. Okay, and we were first to leave our home, knowing that like there is no such a safe place in Gaza Strip. And let me tell you, like during the war, what like in honor school in the place that we go, there was like I prefer like to stay at home and die in my home better to than like live in this area. Because the place that we went for honor school, that place opened its doors like after days of bombing. Okay, and I'll tell you about my mother, illness during the war period. And my mother was pregnant, and she was like gonna deliver a new child, a new children, a new child. And as one, like as a child in this world, I have to see or to be happy because I will have my new brother. But because we are in Gaza Strip, the Israeli occupation damaged this happiness. And as well, I saw my uncle injured in front of my eyes. I was only 7 years old when I was like walking among the martyrs and the London. Like so, and one day while we were like the Israeli occupation announced a truce. And we decided to go home, and I was telling my mother I will go and take my ties. Like, but I wasn't sure that I will find them, but I was have like hope. And here in Gaza Strip, we live in a bad health, with hospitals, with like the lack of the medicine, the lack of the best machines and tools that every patient needs. And as an example, in my mother, temperature was over, like when she got a baby, she's like her temperature is gonna over 40, it became over 40. And I cannot take her to the hospital because of the difficulty of life. I want to live joy with my little brother. Like any child in this world. But the occupation killed our joy and terrified me and my mother. We are in Gaza Strip, live in a very bad economic and health situation. And we dreamed to one day the electricity will continue in our like strip for 24 hours.
مش مشكله بكمل في الغرفه بتغير. بدي اكل قميص ابو رمزي تحت، خايف اقول له بدي اكوي يسمعني كلمتين.
As of now, we have it for 6 hours or less. The health organization in Gaza is in a bad situation. Including lack of medicines and medical supplies and tools. As a Palestinian child, I live in a painful reality. I don't have the right to travel and achieve my dreams and live freely. But I'm saying that Palestine tomorrow be free, Palestine tomorrow be free, Palestine tomorrow be free.
Thank you, Malik. Palestine will be free. Thank you so much. Allow me to introduce, I know one of our witnesses is experiencing technical difficulty, but I'd like to go ahead and introduce our next speaker, Wafa Al-Odaini, a Palestinian journalist and activist who has made significant contributions in the field of media and advocacy. She's the manager of a group called the 16th October Media Group. As a Palestinian refugee living in Gaza, she has witnessed and covered the Israeli aggression on the Gaza Strip since 2014. Her dedication to truth and justice led her to report on the ground, exposing the impact of these aggressions on the lives of Palestinians. Unfortunately, her own home was bombarded by occupation warplanes, leaving her and her family displaced for 4 years before they could rebuild their homes. Alongside her journalism, she's a mom to 3 children. Her commitment to raising awareness and fostering understanding extends beyond her writing. She has worked as an international correspondent for various publications, amplifying the voices and experiences of Palestinians to the global audience. In addition to her reporting, she has actively participated in and delivered talks at numerous international conferences. Wafa's experience and insights have been instrumental in shedding light on the Palestinian cause, raising awareness about the Palestinians under the Israeli siege and aggression. Wafa has also translated 3 books, including one that highlights the stories of Palestinian children living under the violent realities of the Israeli occupation. Wafa, thank you so very much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you here. And really, I would like to thank you for this initiative. And it is really so important to have such a thing to raise awareness about the crimes and the massacres and what is happening on the ground here in Palestine. Bismillah. I'm Wafa Al-Odaini. I'm a Gaza-based journalist. Actually, I have been working in journalism since nearly 9 years so far. I covered several Israeli aggressions here in Gaza. Always it was so risky for me to go outside and interview people, you know, because indeed, as Palestinian journalists based here in Gaza, we don't have immunity. And actually, for the occupation, we are a target because they want indeed to silence the truth. So like so many of my colleagues got murdered and got injured and maimed while they were covering what is happening here in Gaza. And, so far, nobody hold Israel accountable for their crimes against the Palestinian journalists, you know. So like in 2018, I used to cover what we called as the Great Return March, which is a popular demonstration and where Palestinians called peacefully for the right to return to their home. And actually, I witnessed like so many who got, you know, shot dead in front of the cameras. And we documented many crimes by the occupation who killed many Palestinians who were protesting peacefully. So I think that was like a reason for the occupation forces to target the journalists. So several of my colleagues, so many of my colleagues got maimed, got injured and maimed, and 3 of them during the Great March of Return. 3 of my colleagues got murdered. And since nearly 2000, 55 Palestinian journalists got murdered by the occupation fire. And actually, regarding the Great Return March, actually, as I told you, that we were working as journalists, and we were clearly identified as journalists. You know, we were holding cameras and wear our vests with the press written on it. But you know, this thing wasn't like I think a reason for the occupation forces target us. So many times they fired tear gas canisters on us. And I still, for example, suffer from, health problems regarding inhaling tearing gas at that time. And actually, like, for example, like Yasser Murtaja, he was wearing the distinctive journalist blue vest with press written on it and the blue helmet. And we saw him, just taking his cameras and just documented the occupation crimes against the peaceful protesters. And actually they shot him dead in his abdomen, and he died along with the two other journalists. Also, so many like Atiya Darwish, like Sami Masarna, like Adham al-Hajjar, all of those journalists and photojournalists, actually they got injured and maimed. Some of them lost their eyes, and some of them lost their legs due to the occupation fire on them. And they were clearly marked press vest and carrying their cameras. And anyone, and you know that the occupation forces, the Israeli occupation regime, they have advanced weapons, and they can recognize anyone in front of them. Just very like nearly 200 kilometers, I guess. I'm not really sure, but it's just so close to them to recognize that this person is a journalist. Yet they targeted them, and they, injured them and killed them. And I just remember, like, the official IDF, as they call it, IDF, but it is an account on Facebook and Twitter, I think, yeah, on Twitter. It is the official Twitter handle for the IDF, as they call it, spokesperson. He stated that, I'm going to quote him saying, yesterday we saw 30,000 people. We arrived prepared and with reinforcement. Nothing was carried out uncontrolled. Everything was accurate and measured. And we know where every bullet landed. So they know exactly where their bullets go. So they know that they are targeting journalists, which is a crime against, which is a violation to the international law. And actually, this is just during the Great Return March. And for other violations of Palestinian journalists, like here we are stuck here in Gaza. We can't go, for example, to occupy Jerusalem or to occupy West Bank to cover events or what is happening there. We are not allowed, even if we are journalists or anything else. Even we are, they prevent anyone to go and to cover anything. And for that Gaza, actually since nearly 2006, the occupation authorities, the Israeli occupation authorities, actually they imposed land, air, and ground siege on the people of Gaza, which is considered like a collective punishment, where like so many of the sectors got or on the average of collapsed or even collapsed, because of this unfair siege on the people of Gaza. So so many, for example, like of our materials, like cameras, camera accessories, they are not allowed to enter Gaza. Like many times when the camera of the photojournalists, when they got destroyed, it is really so difficult to them to bring another cameras. And if they can bring another cameras, this means that it's really so expensive for them. And not everything here is I mean, regarding the camera accessories, it's really not everything is found here in Gaza. So so that's why it makes our mission here in Gaza, like whenever we want to cover any event with high quality or stuff, we face sometimes the challenges regarding this thing. And indeed, like that every aggression on Gaza since nearly when they started bombing Gaza, I mean, and each time they started by bombing the media institutions, starting with the channels, local channels, and others. Like I just remember, like in 2021, more than 33 media institutions got bombed and they know that this building is for the media institutions, but they hit this building and leveled it to the ground. So many of journalists and photojournalists actually they lost their offices and they lost their jobs because of losing their office. And actually, it feels like in this building, the media institutions or the media offices in this building for international media outlets. I mean, for Al Jazeera, for the Associated Press, and other international media, but they, no one can stop them from targeting anything here in Gaza Strip. So they bombed this building and destroyed it and leveled it to the ground. And actually, maybe because I don't have much time, but really, if I want to keep speaking until until the morning, I'm not gonna stop, reporting to you or documenting to you the Israeli occupation violations against journalists and against every Palestinian here in the Gaza Strip or even in Jerusalem or the West Bank or elsewhere in occupied Palestine. And yeah, so thank you so much for giving me the chance to talk about violations of the Israeli occupation against the Palestinian journalists. So thank you again.
Thank you, dear Wafa. Thank you so much for this important testimony and for everything that you do on a daily basis. We really appreciate it that you took the time to join us today. We are still waiting for our final witness, Mr. Yasser Al-Duwari, a Palestinian lawyer. I was told that he had to rush to the hospital to document the ongoing human rights violations that are taking place on the ground. And he has to come back to be able to access a stable internet connection. So we'll continue to wait for him. But while we do that, I would like to transition us to the Q&A session so that we can start that. And once Yasser is here, we can pause, hear his testimony, and then continue with the questions. For that, I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Dr. Matteo Capasso. Matteo, please take it away.
Thank you, Elia. Thank you, everyone today who's joining us everywhere in the world for this hearing. It's very important, to document, as each one of you has said, the crimes of the occupation over Palestine as a whole, Gaza included. And I would like to open up then the floor to the jurors. Maybe we can take a couple of questions, and then since there are many of you today, joining us, and then we can have another round. And I will say from now, without being too disruptive, but the moment Yasser will join us, we will give vote back to him so that we can finish the testimonies. Are there any questions from the jurors? Eva, yes, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for all the witnesses. This is, as ever, heartbreaking and infuriating. And I'm mindful that it's always hard to sort of ask the right questions or try to sort of even get a sense of what it's like to be there on the ground. I wanted to raise a first question, which is thinking more about the siege, in particular, the blockade. Whether any of you had any thoughts about how it affects Palestinian resistance when it comes to resisting, in particular, the violence and the bombings, and in what way does it disorganize also and impair your ability to sort of resist the aggression of the Israeli state? Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. If the jurors don't have other questions right now, I can switch back to our witnesses and allow them to respond. Should we start from the last one, from Wafa?
Yeah. You mean how the sorry, I think you were asking about the resistance and how it got affected by the
blockade, Wafa. Yeah, how the blockade impacts the capacity to resist the Israeli aggression.
You mean the peaceful resistance and armed resistance? Yeah. Sorry. It's not, I think. Okay. Indeed, actually, everyone here in the besieged Gaza Strip got affected, indeed. But for Palestinians, because they believe in their right and they believe that they are the landowners and they have the whole right to resist the occupation. So really, they invented and they created many things from. I mean, like they just invented homemade missiles. Because you know that there is nothing can enter from outside Gaza, so they started to think of alternatives, and then they invented new missiles. And actually, like I mean, like even many things. Many materials which help in inventing these missiles. Also, they are not allowed to enter Gaza, so which makes the thing very difficult for the freedom fighters here in the besieged Gaza Strip. But yet they managed to resist the occupation by all means they have. And actually, because the resistance also is backed by the people here. Everyone, every child. If you just go in the street and ask the people, ask the children about the resistance, they all honor the resistance and the freedom fighters because they believe that they are the ones, the only ones who could, defend them from the occupation, because you know that no one from the international community or even the Arab countries, no one is stand by the Palestinians. So they have to act by themselves. They started, like in the past, before 2002, there wasn't armed resistance. So they started like the peaceful resistance and the peaceful and popular resistance. But indeed, this thing actually didn't prevent the occupation from keep committing crimes against the Palestinian people. So they depend on themselves and to free their land by all means they have. And we do believe that it is their illegitimate, it's their legal right, to resist the occupation by all means.
Thank you so much.
Matteo, I'm sorry to interject. Riyadh is saying that he works next to the shore and there's a lot of bombing there. So if the jurors want to direct all of their questions that they want for Riyadh right now, so that he could go home and go to a safe place so that we don't risk his life during the testimony, that would be appreciated.
Professor Mohammed Tai, please go ahead. You need to unmute yourself. Professor, you need to unmute yourself.
لدي مداخلة.
I have a question. Whenever crimes are committed, we should examine since the Zionist conference, there are crimes that are being committed. Are these crimes, are they temporary crimes? Are there a chain of crimes that are expanding? So we can actually eventually say that these crimes committed, is it just contemporary crime, temporary crimes are being done right now, or is it something that is part of a grander plan to obliterate Palestine against the Palestinian people and against whatever is left of the country? Is that the plan? Or do we have evidence of these genocidal crimes? Can we say that these crimes are just a crime that's being done now in 2023, or is it something that has historically been progressing? So if we don't highlight this issue, if we don't speak about these crimes as a historical process, we might be not presenting the information in the right manner. So so it's better that we document how the crimes are being committed as starting from the 1930s of the last century. Now I'm in Lebanon and we're at the borders with Palestine, and we know all that's happening in Palestine. But for the sake of the tribunal, is that whenever we gather evidence, whatever evidence that we gather, be it in different fields, be it a media sector, be it medicine sector, all or is it the humanitarian sector, or even the infrastructural sector, when these things are being destroyed, we need to document these things. And in terms also in terms of marchers and those who have been killed, the number of civilians who have been killed, especially, we should have statistics for these things, and or at least an estimation. When it comes to the healthcare and when it comes to also education, how have those sectors been impacted? From my experience, throughout this phase, all of these documents should be present at any tribunal. So we should find those sources and documents. Thank you. I want to add also, here a center in Lebanon conducted a study in terms of what I spoke about in terms of documenting the crimes. And they gave me a copy of this book. And so I'll try to send it to you electronically. And so when we frame these crimes, the crimes should not be articulated in a now moment, but more as a historical process of Zionist expansion. Thank you.
Matteo, perhaps we can have the witnesses answer Dr. Tai's question, and then we can move to Helia to introduce Yasser.
Okay. I guess Riyadh unfortunately had to go. So if Malak or Wafa wants to answer to this question, please go ahead, either of you.
Okay, can you please just repeat to me the question, because I didn't hear it. There was cutting off in the voice.
نعم يعني أنا طبعا أريد التحدث عن
The question, I want documentation of evidence that impacted the life, the politics, the healthcare, the education sectors. And as in, we should not present the Zionist crimes as individual crimes happening in different places, but we should frame it in such a way that there's a grand plan that's actually being conducted for a plan to obliterate the Palestine, as opposed to presenting it as individual crimes happening in different spaces, different times. And so by describing the crime in such a way, we can make a bigger case as opposed to individual crimes. They should be seen as something, a political obliteration of the state. So that's why when we articulate the crimes in such a way, the crimes of the Zionist crimes would be articulated more of a historical process of expansion. Thank you.
Actually, yes, there is a systematic plan that the occupation, the Israeli occupation authorities use against the Palestinian people. Indeed, the crimes actually it's not only target Wafa or Yasser or Malak or anyone. Every Palestinian in occupied Palestine is a target. And indeed, like, we just got experience actually their crimes. They just do this in a systematic and planned, in a cunning way indeed, to to let us firstly stop calling for going back to our homeland, and they stop calling for our right as Palestinians. Indeed, they want to wipe us off the map, and they want us to give up and give them our land. So, the main mission for the occupation here in Palestine, actually, just to end or eliminate any existence of Palestinians. And I just, let me tell you something. Like in the past, we used to say the Israeli militias and the Zionist gangs, the Zionist gangs and the Zionist militias. But by the time, and because they plan it very well, so the media started to say Israeli forces, Israeli police, a democratic state, which is called Israel. So all of these things, actually, it is really, it shows that they work so hard, and just to beautify their crimes and their massacres against the people of Palestine. So actually, they just practice all kinds of subjugation against any Palestinians. They are not only target a person or a journalist or a lawyer. They target everyone here. Like in particular in Gaza, half of the population are from the children. And you know that whenever they impose a siege or wage any aggression on Gaza, this means that they target half of the population, which is the children, So so indeed they work in a very systematic way, just to eliminate any existence of the Palestinian people.
Thank you, Wafa. Malak, would you like to add some thoughts to these questions yourself?
Yes, please. Want to comment about what our Mr. here said. Actually, at first you felt like this is, or me as a child, it's like the only story, as we are Palestinian children. It's the only story, it's a few story, but it's like just like one of a million of stories here in Gaza Strip. This is why the Israeli occupation, what's the aim? If we back to like 1000, like 1948, when the Israeli occupation killed 1 million Palestinian, and like 1947, when they killed like a half or more than this Palestinian. They don't differentiate between the people. They killed everyone, and as a children in Palestine, it's like, from my story, we have a lot of stories that more painful of my story. My story, I saw my uncle injured in front of my eyes and my mom. But for like other children, maybe someone who lose his family, his mother or his sister, his family members, he passed away. He didn't see, like, they will not see him again. And it's like something painful more than what I go through. So your what's like your question? What's the witness, or what's the something that we can show to you? I have something to show, like from the Israeli occupation, like first and Muslims, but I haven't, like, I cannot do it because the host here, I cannot like share anything with you. But we have a lot of witness and like a lot of things that we can show to the world. The Israeli occupation try to steal Palestine, and they want us to leave our Palestine and to say like Palestine is for the Israeli, but they just dream. That will never ever happen for them. And for here, I want to share something, but I cannot hear from my speaking. So that's one of the I ask you about, but I'm just waiting the time. And you asked before I tell you about this, but you are completely wrong. Here, Palestine is only for Palestinian, and they came here to steal our land because they don't have land. They just want to steal our land. And let me tell you that the country, or they call them a country, they call themselves that they are a country, but they are not. Because the country which built in another country land don't call country. It's called occupier and occupation. Israel is not a country. They are just occupation. And I'm talking with you now when we have war, and I don't know if I'm gonna like die now in this moment because the plane is over my head, and we hear like a lot of missiles now in this moment that I'm speaking with you. So that's my comment about what our misters say.
Malak, thank you so much for your answers. Elia, please go ahead.
Thank you all. Yasser is with us, thankfully. So I would like to introduce Yasser and hear his testimony. Yasser, we are very honored to be
أسمعكم. حياكم الله.
Thank you so much, Yasser. I'll take 1 minute to introduce you and then you can go ahead, all right? We're very honored to be joined by Yasser Al-Dirawi, a 31-year-old lawyer from Gaza, and he's joining us from Gaza. Yasser holds a master's degree in public law, and his thesis was titled The Powers of the Prosecutor of the International Criminal Court. Yasser is currently a researcher in the doctoral program in international criminal law. He participated in numerous conferences advocating for the Palestinian cause and Palestinian liberation, as well as in the War Crimes Documentation Committee of the Protection Center for Human Rights in all the occupation's aggression against the Gaza Strip. In addition, he participated in numerous lectures and training courses that would lead to the prosecution of Israel's occupation in international forums. Yasser, thank you so much for being with us. We know that you had to take care of important things right now. I really appreciate that you're joining us today. Please go ahead.
حياكم الله جميعا
Thank you,
ومتأسف جدا على
everyone, and
التأخير
I apologize for being late.
لكنني كنت
I
أشارك في
was
مؤتمر حقوقي
participating in a
إعلامي
human rights
في
conference that
مستشفى
focused
الشفاء
on
بغزة
journalism and human rights
على
in a
التصعيد
hospital,
بخصوص التصعيد
given the
الإسرائيلي على قطاع
escalations
غزة والذي
done by
يعني
the
مستمر حتى
Israelis
هذه
on
اللحظة.
Gaza Strip.
إضافة إلى ذلك كنت
In
أقوم
addition, I was
بتوثيق
documenting the
وجرائم
crimes
الاحتلال
of the
على
occupiers,
فئات المواطنين الفلسطينيين الذين دخلوا مستشفى الشفاء من
those, especially those who have been
إصابات وكذلك من قتل
entering the Wafa
للمواطنين،
hospital,
سواء لم يفرق
and the
الاحتلال ما بين
Zionists, they
طفل
don't distinguish
أو ما بين
between
امرأة أو ما
a
بين
child, a
رجل
woman, or an
كبير،
elderly.
يقوم بضرب جميع المواطنين دون أي
Kill
تمييز
all
ودون
civilians
استخدام أسلوب أو مبدأ التناسب والتمييز.
without any distinction between different targets.
الآن سأقوم يعني بالحديث عن الكلمة التي كنت قد أعدتها سابقا،
based on documents that I have gathered earlier, but given the recent escalations on Gaza and the sanctions imposed on us since 2006 until now, and given more and more aggression by the Zionists on Gaza, now it's the fifth day of aggression on Gaza. The occupying forces continue their aggression, are committing war crimes by obliterating the civilian population, and it's getting more intense, as if it's declaring war on civilians. And they are targeting particularly civilians and civilian infrastructure. And as you know, that this occupation has led to at least 33 civilians, 6 children, 3 women, and 170 civilians were injured, including women and children. In addition to the destruction, 18 houses completely, which is an equivalent of 51 units, residential units. And 190 residential units right now are not inhabitable anymore, which led to the mass exile of more than 1,000 people who cannot live in those houses because of the destruction of this infrastructure. In addition to the other crimes, such as the pathways where people who need to move from one place to another, it's becoming more difficult to even migrate within Gaza Strip. So now even the electricity company recently declared that that the reserves for the energy is about to become obsolete. They're done. In addition to the pathways Karam that try to import and export fuels, they closed them, and so we cannot import gas and fuel. And now they have prevented the importation of medicine and medical equipment as well. In addition to the sanctions that prevented the of agricultural products and seeds, which literally led to the destruction of this agricultural sector, and the prevention of the fishermen and fishing industry to continue to survive off the seas that we see in front of us, but we cannot access it. So all of this is part of the attack on Gaza, and it has a component of revenge against and a collective punishment on the people who live in Gaza, especially those in the leadership of the Zionists. They are intentionally doing these things, and they're intentionally using internationally banned weapons against the Palestinians. And so this indicates that all of the aggression against the Palestinians is done with revenge and anger, and they use also they use new weapons that they have not been tried before, and these planes that they use, we cannot even hear them when they're flying above us, and so we cannot take shelter when we know that bombing is going to happen.
التصعيد
and every day we don't have
وعدوانه على
access
قطاع
to
غزة.
goods and services. So all of these violations that we're experiencing and have been documented before are being done by the occupying forces, and these are considered violations of international violations of international law because they are collective punishment, they are forced migration, forced exile of the civilians, and there's no distinguishing between, again, civilians or non-civilians, and there's no distinction between children and non-children, women and not women. All of these contradiction with the 33rd article of the Geneva Convention. And this shows that the Zionist occupation, they want to destroy the Palestinian people by preventing. Greetings, I apologize. The internet is weak and it got disconnected because of an Israeli attack that just happened next to us. I'm sorry.
Please continue.
إلى أين وصلت؟ لا أعلم إلى أين وصلت حتى أوصل الرسالة واضحة وبشكل كامل.
يعني كنت أنت تتكلم أولاً عن الحصار الاقتصادي والتأثير.
You were first talking about the sanctions, and then you started speaking about the targeting of the unarmed civilians and children. These violations that I just pointed out earlier, they are done by the Israeli occupying forces. They are considered war crimes, and they are intentionally targeting civilians by the complete disregard of civilian, non-civilian targets, and also of civilian infrastructure. And this reflects the level of terrorism that this is inflicting on us. And this contradicts again of Geneva's Convention of 1949, Article 33, and how it relates to protecting civilians in conditions of war. And they're doing all of this because they want to destroy the Palestinians' will to resist and to live. As a Palestinian citizen, and as a human rights activist, and as a person who advocated most of my life to studying international law, all of this reflects that the Zionists are violating international law. All of their actions are considered unjust and is considered a war crime, and it's a genocidal crime by pure definitions. I was with some of the victims earlier in Shifa hospital before the conference that I was at, and I sat down and I listened to them, and I gathered evidence without any alert, well, without any notification. They attack the civilian locations, and without saying that we will be attacking you or anything like that. So as lawyers, we know that there's the idea of telling people that you will bomb a place and you give them a warning, but the Israelis don't do that ever. They don't distinguish between children and the elderly and women. They don't see these as civilian houses that should not be attacked. But this is the nature of the occupation. They just do a crime followed by another crime without any consequences for them. We as Palestinians, we joined this hearing on the tribunal with the hope of that we can prosecute this apartheid regime without any consequence. And so thank you so much, and we hope that you all take all of this conversation and all of this as evidence that we are ready to present any evidence that you would want us to provide to document and show and condemn the crimes of the Zionist occupation that's being done against our people in Gaza. Thank you very much.
Shukran, yatik el-afia, Dr. Yasser. I mean, it was a really powerful testimony from you, and I would like now, because I'm sure now there are many questions coming from the juror. I've seen already that Marjorie has her hand up, so please go ahead, Marjorie, with your question.
Yes, Yasser, thank you so much for your important testimony. It's very much appreciated. Do you have any confidence that the International Criminal Court will bring the occupiers to justice for their genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity?
Has the question been translated to Dr. Yasser?
أسمعه جيدا.
Okay, please go ahead then. Yeah. I don't know if...
يعني أنا على صعيدي الشخصي جاهز للمثول أينما أردتم من أجل تقديم.
On a personal level, I can give my testimony wherever you want. And I have all the documents, and I also have physical evidence that show and condemn the crimes done by the Zionists. But I don't think the Zionists will show up to court, and I doubt that the court will actually have a trial against them that will actually be a just court. The Zionists never show up, and they never are forced to do it.
Thank you, Dr. Yasser. Maria, I know you had your hand up before. I don't know if you still...
Well, some of it has been touched on, but I just thank you, Yasser, and all for sharing with us this devastating testimony, and Malak, and I know Riyadh is not here any longer, but I'm so sorry for the unfathomable loss you've suffered. And I'm sorry for the complicity of the US government. Financial, military, diplomatic. Sanctions are one piece of that, and to the extent it hasn't been covered, if each of you could say more about the everyday impact of sanctions on public health, including mental health, food security, employment, rebuilding supplies, the everyday life impact of the sanctions. Thank you.
Yasser, you want to start and we do a round then?
تعليقي يعني فقط لا غير أن الجهود هذه المحكمة.
My comment is that as a response to what Doctor just asked me, I want to just reiterate again, thank you so much for the tribunal. And I hope through justice, that they look at the victims of the Palestinians. And they look at, I look at the whole situation from a positionality of justice. And we've asked multiple times the International Criminal Court to open a case, an investigation through Attorney General, to open investigation against these crimes, but there's slowness, tardiness, intentional one from the International Criminal Court. But we hope from them, and we hope from all the judges, that we hope that that they could be the best actors on behalf for the Palestinian cause, and through the use of the legal documents that we have to show the brutality of this genocidal crimes that are being done by the Zionist occupation on a daily basis.
ياسر سؤال القاضية ماريا كان ما هو تأثير الحصار على شعب غزة على الأمن الغذائي، على
تمام.
الصحة،
تمام.
على
تمام.
الصحة النفسانية.
تمام.
وما هي ضلاعة الولايات المتحدة في حصار غزة؟
وصلت الفكرة. أنا ما كنتش فاهم الفكرة.
Now I understand the question, Dr. Maria's question better. Now, the blockade on Gaza impacted on different levels and in different ways. First of all, the healthcare sector. The blockade on Gaza prevented the importation of medicine equipment in addition to necessary medicine to receive any treatment. In addition, given that we have many ill people with chronic illnesses, and we cannot provide them with healthcare facilities, we cannot provide them with anything.
Yasser, the microphone. I think his connection has been lost. Malak, Wafad, do you want to answer the question? Did you understand the question?
Yes, I'd like to answer. First, you ask what's the effects for the Israeli occupation and the siege on Gaza Strip on the health. As I said, what I said, when my mother gets worse and she got when she was pregnant and her temperature got over 40. And it was because of tools and the lack of tools and medicine in Gaza Strip, we couldn't afford or go and buy this medicine because we don't have medicine because of war, and we cannot the doctors, the people or the community cannot get medicine from outside because we're under the siege because of the Israeli occupier, and that affects all the strip that we don't have the good equipment or the modern equipment, and as well now we don't have not all the illness we can solve it, or not all the patients can be here or to solve their illness here in Gaza. Sometimes they have to travel with a difficult condition. So that's affect maybe while we want to get this medicine, maybe the patient or the ill person maybe die because of the lack of this medicine. So it's affect sometimes the ill people maybe die. This is the first effect on the health. What's the other question you want me to answer? On the health situation.
Yes, أنا موجود حاليا.
Okay, Yasser, you wanna finish your answer now?
صحيح. يعني أثر هذا الحصار الظالم على عدة
The blockade, yes, did impact indeed the healthcare sector by the prevention of the importation of healthcare equipment and the medicine, which prevented again, as I said, those who with chronic illnesses to receive any form of treatment. This is one side. Those who are in the fishing industry, in the agricultural industry, we cannot import equipment for farmers, and especially for the fish, those in the fishing industry, they get fired at often. And those who also participated in this blockade on the agricultural sector, the economic situation in overall in Gaza is a humanitarian catastrophe, such as the factories are harmed and bombed, and many of them were closed and shut down. And this is part of the blockade as well. Now there's a hard-working strata of society that cannot find anything to work, and they cannot make a living, despite the fact that they have good education. But just because of the blockade, they can't have jobs and they cannot contribute to the society that they live in. And this is all part of the blockade. And this is a targeted project as a blockade. The United States, did it participate in this blockade? Absolutely. The United States is the primary supporter of this blockade, and we call it the United States of Imperialism that supports the Israelis. And the Israelis cannot make any decisions unless if they go back and get an agreement from Washington, D.C. and get an approval from the United States. There are evidence of this. Even the United States prevented the condemnation of Israel 2 days ago in the Security Council, given the violence that's increasing recently. And then it explicitly declared that we are against condemning the Israel in Security Council. Even this news itself tells you the positionality of the United States. And given the evidence that I have personally, we will document without any hesitation that the United States is part of the crime that's being committed against the Palestinians by working hand in hand with the occupying Zionist forces.
Shukran again. Thank you so much, Yasser, and thank you, Malak, for your answers. Wafa, do you wanna? I just want to add that we heard news from yesterday, for example, that the Zionists purposely are bombing agricultural fields on Gaza. So there is a targeted, really bombing also of these sectors precisely to deprive, the Palestinians of their of economic means of sustenance. Wafa, do you want to answer the question about the blockade and its impact on health sector or the everyday life?
Yes, of course. Actually, Yasser said everything nearly. Many things, many important points. But I just want to add something that many people, like tens of people, lost their lives because of the ongoing Israeli siege on Gaza. And indeed, like many workers, actually, they have to close their factories and they lost their jobs because of the occupation, because for example, they prevented like a material to enter Gaza, and then because this material is not found here in Gaza, so he has to close his factory, and then all of the workers in this factory just become jobless, And also, as Yasser said, like many machines. Like in the health sector, I mean, in the hospitals, they need to be fixed actually, but the occupation prevented the, alternatives or other materials, other machines to enter Gaza, or even to fix these machines, and indeed, let me just say it in brief, like actually the land, air, and the ground siege on the VC and the Gaza Strip actually affect every single thing here in the Gaza Strip. And actually there are so many stories, but just I'm really sure that we don't have like much time to say anything more about how does it affect the people of Gaza, because like if we want to hear testimonies from other Palestinians here in Gaza, like there are so many, each like the 2 million Palestinians here in Gaza has a very heartbreaking stories, and he suffer every single day because of the ongoing Israeli siege. So yeah, we can just say this. Thank you.
Thank you, Wafa. As if there are no questions from the jurors, but I mean, obviously, I'm opening the floor again, I also have some questions regarding the situation, because we also don't hear many things like the psychological impact that we heard, you know, the other day when a little boy died because of a panic attack due to the bombings. You know, we are really witnessing, you know, it's a systematic crime, it's a genocide, it's really systematic attack on the Palestinians. So I wonder, there is Marjorie, I don't know if you still have your hand up from before or you want to add something.
Yes, I would like to add something, please. I would like to ask Yasser, do you think the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court will bring criminal charges against Israeli leaders?
السؤال مرة أخرى.
Marjorie, can you repeat the question?
Yes, Yasser, do you think, excuse me, do you think the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court will file charges against Israeli leaders for their crimes?
يعني أنا بحد علمي وباعتقادي عندما كان المدعية عندما كانت
Based on what I know, the attorney before the current Karim Khan, the Attorney General, she wanted to open an investigation concerning the crimes of the Zionists inside inside Palestine and the Palestinian territories. Karim Khan didn't continue what the former Attorney General Fatou bin Saouda did. First of all, this slowness, the intentional slowness, what's being done by the Attorney General is that they're delaying the initiation of the process, despite when they went to when the war started, when compared to the war in between Ukraine and Russia, they instantly opened an investigation, and a very serious one. But the Palestinian cause and what the Palestinian people are experiencing and what Gaza is experiencing in terms of crimes, continuous crimes, is considered obviously a war crime and a genocidal crime, and they didn't move not a single step towards the right direction. And we hope that they open a genuine investigation, given the jurisdictions that they have, and open a serious investigation. As a person who cares about justice, given that also the Palestinian authorities are interested in providing also these documents to the International Criminal Court. So we hope that they take the necessary steps, but we'll see.
Thank you, Yasser. Are there any questions from the jurors? Any more? Yes. Professor, please go ahead and unmute yourself. Yeah, go ahead. Professor Tai, can you hear us? Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
نعم. لماذا لا تقوم كما تفضلت
why doesn't the Palestinian authorities to provide those documents to the International Criminal Court if the Attorney General abandoned the whole cause? Why doesn't the Palestinian authorities to actually file the lawsuit? And so this is the fact that the Palestinian authorities aren't doing anything is a little bit suspicious. Are they you know, do they care about the Palestinian people? Do they care anything? Are they aligning with the Zionist authorities? What's their positionality? You know, maybe we should speak about the Palestinian authorities and their role in not doing anything.
القاضي.
الأستاذ ياسر.
تمام. حضرة القاضي، يعني هذا سؤال مهم أثرته أنت. لماذا السلطة الوطنية لا تقوم بإحالة هذه الملفات؟ يعني أنا على صعيدي الشخصي قم بإعداد.
On a personal level, I have endless documents that to provide the International Criminal Court. So there is 3 crimes: the 2014 crimes with complete witnesses and testimonies. That also another one on the crimes of blockading medicines, and then also the crimes on the hostages and those who are kidnapped. We've asked the national authorities through the National Human Rights Center that I work at, the national authorities, they did not reply to our demands. They did not reply to even our mail or emails that we have sent them. And so this puts us under certain conditions. First of all, there is slowness coming from the Palestinian authorities. We have to acknowledge that by not providing these documents to the International Criminal Court. And in addition to the national authority, they didn't, despite the fact that we have asked multiple times, they have not moved our case. They did not speak about the case in a just way, in a passionate way, in a pressing way, like we have been demanding them to do. So they have not gone, for example, to the International Criminal Court because they say that they have personal reasons, and they don't know what personal reasons that they're saying that they cannot take the documents to the International Criminal Court. And lastly, the national authorities, they haven't taken the necessary steps. They talk and they speak that they're preparing these documents, the legal documents, so they're preparing it in a legalistic framework, so they can be provided in the appropriate framework to the National Criminal Court, but they haven't done anything. And so when I'm speaking to you right now, this is a very pressing issue, and I'm speaking to you, and the bombs are falling next to us, and I'm feeling the vibrations happening to my civilian neighbors. So I hope the safety for everybody, and especially for those who are also participating here in this hearing, especially my brothers and sisters. So thank you. So I'll try to conclude by saying that the national authority has to head to the International Criminal Court, and they have all the documents that they need. I think the main problem is that they have no reason that's convincing to say that they cannot do any actions. I think it's a shortcoming from them that they're not taking this seriously.
Thank you, Yasser. Thank you so much. And thanks for the question, Mohammed. I would like to give the chance to the Libyan journalist Mustafa Fetouri to ask a question from the audience that has been, he would like to, has been raising his hand. Mustafa, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you for organizing this, Matthew, and your colleagues, as well as everybody else. Very interesting. A lot of details, especially by our friends who are speaking from Gaza. I would like to express my salutation to you and my sympathy and my deep support for you, for the entire Palestinian nation. I want to be brief, so I just have one very little question. Does any of you in Gaza now have any detailed list or the updated list of items banned by Israel from getting into Gaza? I would like to receive that list, if possible, by email or by any other means, and I will just write down my email in the chat section of the connection now. Thank you.
Wafa, do you wanna?
Actually, I don't know exactly, but I know that there are so many items that are prevented from entering Gaza, but in specific, I don't know. But maybe I'm gonna contact Yasser or anyone else. Maybe he could help me in this, and then if you provide me with your
السؤال مرة أخرى لو سمحتوا.
with your email, Mustafa, then I can email you with the list if I.
Yeah. السؤال أخي ياسر يعني دير بالك على حالك.
صحيح يعني أنا
وإن شاء الله أمور يعني إن شاء الله بالسلامة يعني بعيد عن هذا القصف
صحيح
الهمجي.
يعني يوجد عدة أجهزة ومعدات طبية من خلال
There is indeed a list of specific equipment and medicine that cannot be imported. So I will try to gather the names of the equipment. So, for example, the radiation devices that to diagnose cancer and other cancer detecting devices are prevented to enter. Other equipment that is needed for those who are kidney failures, for those who need surgeries, they don't have access to these equipment. But so I do have the list of all the equipment that is needed, but is blockaded and prevented to be imported. So I can provide that list, inshallah.
Thank you, Yasser, for your answer. Wafa, did you finish your comment before, or you wanted to say something else?
No, thank you. Since
Okay.
Yasser does everything, it's okay. No.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the jurors at the moment that we have? Other juror Prabat, please go ahead.
No, I just wanted to ask if there is any estimate or guess about the proportion of population that has been rendered jobless because of this blockade. You know, you mentioned the fact that fields were being made uncultivable. You mentioned the fact that equipment was not being allowed to come into industry and so on, because of which people were losing their jobs, livelihoods. Any estimate of roughly what percentage, or even a guesswork of roughly what percentage of people were so affected?
Does anybody want to take the question?
Maybe
Wafa,
yes.
yeah.
I think Yasser, do you have the percentage? عندك إحصائية يا أستاذ ياسر؟
صحيح يعني يوجد
I
نسبة.
have the statistics, I think.
يعني النسبة التي أعلنت عنها وزارة العمل.
The percentage, 66% of those who have degrees and graduates, they don't have jobs after graduating. The reality in Gaza, when we provided a report about the impact of the blockade for the year of 2022, we found that Gaza Strip is experiencing for now having job opportunities is 68%, roughly 70%. 70% of the Palestinians in Gaza don't have job opportunities.
Thanks, Yasser, for your answer. Suzanne, please go ahead.
Thank you, Matteo, and thank you to all the witnesses. Quickly, my question is kind of coming back to what has been raised about how to build accountability and who is accountable. And I was just wondering if there was anything else in sort of looking at this question of accountability. I was wondering if any of the witnesses wanted to talk at all, sort of even just beyond the question of Israel and the US's accountability, and maybe say something about like the role of Egypt at the Gaza border, and maybe even the role of international NGO regime and what role they play either in, you know, providing relief for the blockade or maybe in some circumstances perpetuating it.
Malak, do you wanna answer this question? Malak, can you hear me? Oh, Wafa.
Sorry, actually, because they hit an area here. I'm not really sure, but I couldn't hear your question. If you can repeat it again. Guys, I really need to go now. I need to check something outside, and then if I could get back to you, I will go back to you, okay? Just because.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your testimony. Really, thank you.
Stay safe.
Yasser, do you want to pick up these questions? Did you understand? Yeah, I think you should probably.
ياسر السؤال هو عن ضلاعة النظام المصري وضلاعة المؤسسات المدنية ال NGOs.
سمعت السؤال الأخير. سمعت السؤال الأخير إياد. يعني نبدأ من المؤسسات الأهلية ال NGOs. يعني المؤسسات.
For NGOs, they have funding structure. And they tend to have very strict rules of what they can do. At the local level, we don't find any of the services like material services. So they don't have any way of maneuvering. So there's no way of actually implementing any of the major projects that they say that they want to implement. So these NGOs that get funding, they don't actually realize any of the projects. And they always have to get approval from the Zionists before they can actually conduct any project. In addition to, they actually tend to have to get an approval from the United States as well. In Gaza, we don't see any of the services that cover any of the sectors that you mentioned, that I mentioned earlier, which are impacted by the sanctions and the blockade. In addition, the Egyptian Arab Republic or the Egyptian regime in this sector, they used to close the pathway, the border, and now they open the border on a daily basis, which is a Rafah border, but we don't get the approval, and we don't get the approval for any person who wants to pass, everybody who wants to leave, and this is part of the preventing of the Palestinian citizens from traveling internationally for personal reasons. That they don't have to be clear reasons, like any freedom of travel is a right that we don't enjoy through this border. And so the regime used to help, but now they don't. And so right now, the way that they're helping is that they're through Egyptian companies. They try to build houses in Gaza, but that they're not helping. So, and also they're continuing. They're being an integral part of the blockade too, because they're preventing people from travel.
Professor أحلام بيضون من لبنان. إذا بتحبي تتكلمي، تفضل.
يعطيكم العافية.
I want to ask
موجودة أنا برابطة اسمها رابطة دراسات
I used to be part of the coalition of studies of settler colonialism. And there was a paper and then there's a calling for it that we should provide evidence to the International Criminal Court. And it seems to me that most of the politicians who try to do that role. So my question is to Mr. Yasser is there collaboration between different specialized entities that potentially the Palestinian authorities could collaborate with? Is there any collaboration between Palestinian authorities and other coalitions? First of all, there is collaboration, and there is no other a lack of coalitions with enough evidence to provide to the national authority. The Palestinian authorities, they have been given all of the documentations to condemn the violations of the Zionist occupiers, and all of these coalitions have provided it to the national authorities, essentially because they are the ones who are representing the Palestinian people. And be it the heads of the authority or the Minister of Foreign Affairs, they have the right to provide these documents that we provided them to the International Criminal Court. And this is part of the procedure of the Roma Convention. And as for the Attorney General, he should be able to receive documents directly from the Palestinian citizens directly, or any other human rights centers. They have the right to send documents to the Attorney General. And I know this because of given my work with the Center of Human Rights, and we have sent documents to the Attorney General asking them to open an investigation, and we provided the documents also to the Arab Human Rights organization. Given that they have connections with the International Criminal Court, we provided them with all these documents, asking the Attorney General to open an investigation. And I'm speaking to you again. And I'm speaking to you right now with complete readiness to provide all the evidence for any entity who is genuinely interested to actually reach the International Criminal Court and actually provide the documents to the Attorney General to show and document without any hesitation, without any questioning, that this is crimes against humanity against the Palestinian people.
Thank you, Yasser. Thank you for your comment, Ahlam. Jaribo, I saw that you just raised your hand. Do you wanna ask a question?
Yes, I would like to very much ask a question, but first I would like to endorse what has already been interrogated in terms of the role of the International Criminal Court and how for so many years since its establishment, it's been a hands-off type situation with this government. Certainly the US has made sure that they never would be brought before the International Criminal Court regarding extrajudicial murders and other crimes against humanity, all the way back to slavery, from slavery to now. So my question really goes to the issue of what Suzanne raised earlier in terms of accountability. Is there an actual filing that has been done with the International Criminal Court? And if so, what stage is it at this point? Do we see the possibility of groups of legal warriors in this country and other countries signing on and putting pressure on the International Criminal Court like there has never been before? So now would be the time to really put pressure on the International Criminal Court to force the issue of accountability, because certainly they have jurisdiction over these war crimes and crimes against humanity, but they are reluctant to move when there is a question involving those who are victims of settler colonialism. And the US government is not going to go against the state of Israel. They just recently proclaimed once again their undying support for that illegal regime. So are there ways to put pressure on them as well to cast a light on the contradictions within this empire? How do we show up to make sure that we make those things clear in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Palestine?
Terrible, thank you so much. This is the goal of this tribunal, I guess, and we have to continue putting pressure on the U.S. government, and we need to ally with the Palestinian people, obviously. But I would like to know if Yasser has any comments on this before closing up, and so the same for Malak. Please go ahead, Yasser, if you have any thoughts to share.
يعني نشكر هذا الجهد
First, again, thank you for all the effort from all the rapporteurs and the judges. We all know that this is all volunteer work, so thank you. Indeed, we have sent a number of emails to the Attorney General of the International Criminal Court, and I'll be in another communication with if she could take right now my email, my contact info, and I can send you all the documents, and I can send you all the correspondences between myself and also the International Criminal Court. I'll provide you all the correspondences to show how we have been communicating with them, and show how they have been lacking in that and their responses. Again, but as of now, we haven't received any formal response from them until now. When we send also documents to the Arab Organization of Human Rights, we haven't received anything, any response from them. I want to just clarify to all the listeners is that we are sending. Whenever we send anything, we don't have any shortcomings. We don't just send them like this, but no, we spend so much time on getting all the evidence and all the testimonies and preparing the whole complete legal file, and we send that file. But we don't receive any response, and this is the worst part. We don't get any response. That's the worst part. And so there is nothing that tells us that there will be a response. We sent it to the national authority. We sent it to the Arabic Organization of Human Rights. We sent it to the Attorney General of the International Criminal Court. We sent it to the lawyer Jill. We sent it to another lawyer in Britain. I think his name is Jill Bowman, and the other one is Dale Vars. Is a French lawyer, so it's a British lawyer and a French lawyer. They promised us that they will send these documents to the Attorney General, the formal one, and until now we haven't received any response. Despite the fact that I am always ready to send all these files and documents and testimonies, and I will be able to give them to any lawyer who can actually prosecute Israel and the International Criminal Court.
Yasser, thank you so much for your answer. Thank you so much, Malak, for your testimony.
يعني أنا باعتقادي
in my view, I don't expect that in the American human rights organizations that they send these documents, because they could receive pressure from their own governments. The American government could actually pressure these organizations within the United States to actually prevent these human rights organizations from speaking, being pro-Palestine. So we haven't communicated with American human rights organizations because we doubt that they will do anything. But again, we are willing to provide these documents to any organization in the United States if they wanted to actually, if they wanted access to these documents, as long as they promise us that they actually will not be prosecuted because we care about them as well, not to face any charges by their own government, meaning the United States government.
I repeat again, I want to thank you all for the powerful and very intense testimonies that you have provided today. Thank you, Yasser, Malak. Thank you to Wafa and to Riyadh. We need to remind to all of us, that to all of those that are watching us today, that this hearing has happened while Israel, the Zionist entity, is actually bombing Gaza, which is puts an amount of pressure, while, you know, to the same witnesses today. We can't normalize this. There is a reason why this tribunal is a tribunal against the US imperialism, because as we've known in the past hearings and today, these crimes do not happen just because of Israel, don't happen just because of the United Nations. There is complicity, there is a system under which these countries are put under pressure. And this is what we're trying to do, to inform, to document, and to push against these crimes that are committed through the embargoes and economic measures. I want to thank you all the witnesses again, and I want to thank you also the translators, Ali and Sam, who did a fantastic job and allowed, you know, this hearing to be heard worldwide. And stay safe. We send you all the solidarities. The entity is temporary.
دعواتكم لنا. نسأل الله السلامة لنا يا رب العالمين.
We thank you so much, and we ask Allah for all the safety for everybody.
Allah ma'akum, and thank you so much again for your testimonies.
إياكم.